Welcome to I Hate It Here, the podcast for HR and people professionals, making the hardest job in the world just a little bit easier. I'm Hebba Youssef.
Who am I? What do I like? What do I value? What do I care about? Like, those things are deeply rooted, right? Like, this is not just ew, that's so cringe. Let's dig a little deeper. You know what I mean? In terms of like, you have to understand that for yourself. You cannot shift certain things in your life without understanding yourself at the core. And that's really uncomfortable for people, especially if you're not used to trusting yourself or your intuition or believing that you're making the right decisions for yourself.
Let's be honest, HR doesn't have a data problem. It has a what do we actually do with this problem? Quantum Workplace helps leaders unlock talent insights that are often siloed, connecting engagement, performance, and development into a single clear view of your workforce. Because clarity leads to better decisions and better teams. Visit quantumworkplace.com to learn more. Welcome back to another episode of your favorite podcast. I'm Hebba, your host and resident hater with love. This season has been all about the new ways of working, new expectations, new boundaries, new definitions of success that don't require us to sacrifice our entire nervous system. Today, I want to talk about new ways to think about fulfillment at work, like how we center our passions without burning out, how we set boundaries without blowing up our careers, and how we stop letting work be the only place we look for meaning. And maybe we'll talk a little bit about what it's like to decenter work from your identity. A lot of us follow these rules at work. And then, I don't know, lately I've been dealing with finding myself asking, and a lot of my friends asking, like, why does work feel so empty? So I want to talk about what actually needs to change. And joining me today is my good friend, Ayanna Kelly. Ayanna Kelly currently serves as the Director of Culture in her primary role and leads her own nonprofit, Hidden Healers. She is an Afro-Latina disabled veteran, mother, and wife. As an Army veteran and a daughter of Dominican immigrants, she brings lived insight into workplace barriers, especially for historically marginalized people, and leads with empathy, trauma-informed practices, and systems thinking to redesign policies and culture. Her experience spans government, tech startups, and nonprofit, where she coaches leaders and builds programs that help people thrive. She advocates for youth mental health and a more human, sustainable workplace. Ayanna, welcome to the pod, finally.
Yay, we finally get to make it happen. I'm so
She's
excited.
here. She's here. I just have to tell the
3
story.
years later.
3 years later. I have to tell the story of the first time I met Ayanna. I am not, I mean, I have cried a lot on this podcast, but I'm not really one that just like openly cries. Actually, lies. My first time meeting Ayanna, we just like started talking about our lives, our lived experience as children of immigrants, the pressures we put on ourselves, what it means to care about your family, like literally first conversation of us meeting. And I ended up crying, like real tears as I'm describing to her, like the pressure I feel to be a representative of just life and child of immigrants and the pressure I put on myself and how I want to make the world of work a better place. So I'm like crying first time I've ever met her, and she decided to stay my friend after that. So thank you.
You're welcome. I would say like that is a normal occasion for me. I feel like everyone that we like, even that I've met through you, like, you know, some of our friends were like, wait, I did not expect for this coffee chat to turn into a session. I'm like, well, you know, it's what I do. It's kind of my superpower.
I definitely think it's your superpower. You made me feel like so vulnerable and so open from the second I met you. And to me, it just like means so much at a time where like it is really hard to be vulnerable at work. And so when you find counterparts outside of work that are willing to create that space for you and say like more, it means the world to me. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate you.
I'm about to cry again.
Don't do it. We just started. We just got here.
Everyone who listens to this podcast, I'm so sorry. I'm so emotional all the time, but I promise you I will do better and I'll cry so much. I cry. Okay, so last night was the Golden Globes, and I cried during people's acceptance speeches. Like, it's a funny joke, but it's not funny because I genuinely cry because I'm so overwhelmed with like emotion for them. Tiana Taylor was crying legitimate tears of when she gave her speech, and then she did the Whitney Houston call out and then turned around and showed her dress. I was like, I can't deal with this. I'm so emotional. But yeah.
It's just, I think it's because the wins and the joy just feel so sporadic, so that when we do have them and we do witness them, we're just like, yes, like we've got to savor it because the world is burning and it feels like there's not enough joy to focus on. So
it
cry
feels
at the
like
good things.
crying. I mean, I love it. I'm like, should I cry more? Everybody on this pod, should I cry more? Please tell me. Is
Yes.
it okay? Are you annoyed with it yet? I'm just kidding. But no, you're
I
right.
doubt it.
Like,
Everybody comes back.
the world and the news feels so hard as I'm watching the things that are happening in the world. I have just so much sadness for like the current state of all the things happening, especially to the immigrant community. It like breaks my heart watching all the things happening, like similar to during the time of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, like watching people be like, oh, this happens to the Black community. And me being like, what are you talking about? Like,
Correct.
yes, like I do think a lot of people are waking up to a lot of things. And, I would have hoped they would have noticed some of it earlier, but I'm glad that they're waking up to it today. And I guess like watching people be good allies to others has really been kind of my one highlight, where people are saying like, we have to protect these groups and we have to do better and we have to talk about it. And I think that's been really interesting too.
Yeah. But I also think we're like at a very unique intersection of like, we hold those identities and we're responsible for shaping the workplace and teaching people how to be kind and good people. And you're just like, this is exhausting. And you end up burning out, I think, a little bit more because you feel that you're closer to the pain and the destruction and heavily impacted. So you're dealing with it as a person, but also like I get paid to teach other people how to have the competencies to lead their teams through this.
It feels like you're living a dual life sometimes, honestly, where I really have to like shove down all the pieces of me that make me to be able to show up and help others. And that dichotomy, that experience, I think is so unique. And really hard.
But that's also a burden. Yeah, that's a burden. Because then you feel like it's like almost a higher degree of code switch.
Yeah.
It's like I've got to completely turn off the things that are hurting me right now to be there for other people. And then if you don't turn it back on, you end up neglecting yourself, your needs. It bubbles up in other spaces, like.
Yeah.
Is it sustainable? I don't know.
I don't think so. And that is like part of the reason why I love safe space so much, is that you have to have, I do believe, an imperative game changer for HR leaders is to have your community. Your community means so much, whether it's HR people, whether it's your personal local community, whether it's your ethnic or religious community, whatever it is, being in community with others who understand your experience in your life, I think brings a sense of connection and fulfillment that can alleviate some of the burden we're feeling at work all the time.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And that's like speaking the things out loud, right? Like the enemy of shame is, speaking things and saying the things that we're going through. And then you end up finding out that other people are going through very similar things and somebody figured it out. And like, you're like learning, all right, well, maybe I could do that. Or that doesn't work for me. I got to try something else. You know what I mean? Like that connection in itself is a relief, right? That you're not doing it alone.
That's why I kind of feel so passionate about like grieving out loud about like the losses I've experienced, or my father or my brother. Cause I just think like so many people are grieving in silence, and you don't have to be alone as you're processing grief. It's a very lonely experience because like you have that intimate relationship with the other person and you think no one will understand it. But at its core, like so many people would. And I feel like the more and more I write about the losses I've experienced, more and more people reach out and are like, I too feel the way, or like I lost my dad suddenly too. And it's been really hard. And it's like helpful to hear you talk about it. And I'm like, yeah, I used to feel like very ashamed of grieving. And now I'm like, nah, I'm going to cry in public. Like, I'm going to be crying all the time. I'm going to openly be saying I'm not doing well. So, but we'll get more to that and into that in the episode, and more about like how we're thinking about work and boundaries, because I think that is very important. But before I do, I've been asking every single person this season a little fun question, because the whole season is about new. So what's something new you want to learn this year?
I I want to know I want to learn how to hustle harder, but in a sustainable way. Like people ask me all the time, like, Ayanna, how do you do all of these things? Like what, like you are doing a little bit of everything all the time. How do you do it? And honestly, before I'm just grinding through, I'm doing everything, but then I was depleted at the end of the day or didn't have the energy for myself or for others. So I want to know how to do all the things without completely running myself into the ground and like learning how to say no, right? Like I've got to say no to things without guilt if I'm going to try to be sustainable with it, especially now that I started my PhD and I'm in a full-time leadership role. Like I've got a big job. And oh, by the way, I'm married and have 2 kids and like I'm trying to go to the gym, drink water and sleep. All of the things, like I'm exhausted saying it out loud.
When you posted about getting your PhD, I honestly was like, that would send me into a spiral. Like how managing all of that feels so hard. But I mean, like, I love the hustle. I love the hustle too. But there's like can we be soft hustlers? Like, how do we get to be soft hustlers?
Yes. Soft hustle, just the things that like bring me joy and actually will like pour into me versus the things that will drain me, etc. Trust me, I've got a whole system down. Like I'm pretty manic about my calendar right now.
I love that. But like, welcome to the era of being soft hustlers. Like I'm into it because hustle always gets lately. I feel like hustle's been getting a bad rep where they're like hustling is like, it's when the CEO wants you to work all the time and like, you got to show them that you care. And I'm honestly like, I'm a hustler at my heart, like daughter of immigrants, came to this country with nothing. Like my dad taught me that like you can learn and be anything you want to be. So like hustle's in my DNA, but like I want to be a soft hustler. So like I want to work really hard at the things I'm passionate about, but then I also want to lay on the couch and do whatever I want to do without feeling guilt for doing those things.
Absolutely. It's strategic soft hustle.
There we go. We've coined something new and you're welcome, everyone listening to this. Yeah, we're trademarking it. Don't even try it. We already got it. Okay, diving into our episode today, I remember when we were texting about this exact thing we wanted to talk about because I think a lot of people are experiencing it. And it's really interesting. Like, why do you think fulfillment feels harder to access at work right now, even for people who we would look at and say, oh, they're technically successful?
Let me tell you, I'm going to come at this from a millennial perspective. I feel like we were sold a sham. we were sold a sham. It's all a lie. And let me tell you why. Like we were sold the idea of like, if we work hard enough, if we check the box, if we continue to hustle, the success will come, the fulfillment will come, right? Just continue to climb the ladder. Let me tell you, a title and pay does not fulfill me. Like at all, because that neglects the other parts of us that we are in terms of like human. And also it centers the like capitalistic idea of like work and success is the only way to define it. You know what I mean? Like, what if we flip it and define fulfillment in other ways, right? Instead of just looking at work and looking at the other things in life, because we shouldn't have to wait until we retire to be able to like travel and spend time with our family and do the things that bring us joy and trying something new. Like, I think that is why we get to the successful check mark and we're like, WTF, because we neglected all of the other things that bring us joy. And we're centering, our identities on work. In let's also add the other layer where like right now everyone is either laying off, you got to do more with less, right? Like a mediocre white man is making rules and it's changing the way everybody's doing things because they're frantic and they're about to lose money, and we're not going to care as much about people. And then we're like, I did all this sacrifice and worked so hard and lost like sleep and didn't go to my kid's game, and now you want to lay me off or reduce my pay? Get out of here. That's not fulfillment.
No, definitely not. I had such a whack sense of fulfillment growing up. Like I really thought at like 23, I was like, I'm going to be a C-suite by the time I'm 40 and I'm going to make 6 figures by this amount. Like they were goals that were set around title and compensation. And then when you reach those milestones, it's almost like, wait a minute, this is what I worked so hard for. And I'm not trying, I understand I have a privilege of having a job and a title that gives me authority and power to enact change. Like I'm very grateful for those things. I hope no one listening to this doesn't think that I'm grateful that I've achieved the things that I have. But at the same time, like it does feel like when I got them, I was like, wait, is this it? Was this
Mm-hmm.
it? And
Yeah.
it really crystallized and changed for me when I did that exercise of like defining my values instead. And I did it way late in the game, like maybe 5, 6 years ago, where I sat down and said, what are my core values? The three things that I know how I show up like this in every conversation. I talk about them so often on this pod. And I feel like when I started defining those values and opting into opportunities that let me live those values, suddenly work became very fulfilling. And it feels like a wild thing to say because I understand we all have to work because of our capitalistic society. But I do believe that you can find fulfillment at work, provided you get to live your values. That's what I think has been my guiding line through everything. I
Yes.
need to be able to show up as myself. Otherwise, I will not get fulfillment from a title or a
Right.
compensation or an opportunity. I will get fulfillment from being able to live the things that I want to live.
Yes, absolutely. The whole thing is it's like you're not placing your fulfillment or your worth just on the title or just the compensation, right? It's the things that make the full picture, right? Are you values aligned? Are you still investing in community? Are you giving and taking what you want to put in and out of into the world, right? Like I think those things really matter. And then on the flip side too is like, are you picking a workplace that's actually addressing the root cause of things? Because you shouldn't have to work 24/7 if, workplaces are able to like strategically plan workloads and actually provide autonomy and rights to do the things that we say we value and probably suck at implementing. Like I think those things matter, and you should ask those questions when you are considering a new role, a new title, or whatever it is like, is this going to come with the things that fulfill me? And to your point, values alignment, at least for me, are top of the line. Like I have also been like pretty privileged in that I can say no to certain things and feel okay with it. And I'm okay with the sacrifice if it comes with a pay cut or whatever it is, if it is value aligned, because I've decided that is what's more important to me.
Yeah. And I mean, we talk about privilege in so many different lenses. And I know there are so many people on the market right now looking for jobs, actively looking, or they've been out of work for a long time. And I always hesitate to try to have this conversation because it does feel like I feel so much privilege of having a job that I sometimes stay away from talking about these things. But I think this conversation is still really important and really valid, regardless of if you have a job or not, because I think it could inform where you get fulfillment in the future. Like when you're able to like finally make that choice. And like you, I feel like I've been able to say no to things, and that comes at an immense privilege to me. And it feels like an immense responsibility that I'm able to say no to things that I know the average person could not. So I'm eternally grateful for that. And I think like it's such an interesting time to talk about work and fulfillment and belonging when you know so many people are actively looking for jobs. But there's so many things that we're grieving about work that we don't really talk about out loud. So,
Mm-hmm.
as HR people, as people who have done other jobs and been other people, like, what do you think people are grieving about work that we haven't really been talking about out loud?
Oof. I think specifically in the last 5.5, 6 years, I think we are grieving the loss of the version of ourselves that we genuinely believed our work could change the world, that we could like create change. Like and think about, I'm gonna brag a little bit about my resume a little bit, is like I've done the US Army, I've done intelligence agencies, I've been at the White House in two different capacities, right? I've been on Capitol Hill. And every time I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna make this change. Like I'm in the most powerful place in the world, et cetera, all just to get there. And it's more bureaucracy. It is inundated with white men as usual, right? Like, and no shade to white men. It's just the reality, right? Like you're just in certain places that other people aren't. And you end up coming to like the realization of like my work, and sometimes this is true, but most of the time is like my work isn't actually going to move the needle, or like work can't always be my place of advocacy.
Yeah.
And especially those of us with marginalized identities, we feel like, yo, like it's not just this title, it's the fact that my family worked so hard to get me here and I got this title and I'm going to do something with it.
Yeah.
And then it's this loss of like, oh, actually it's a sham. Like they're not actually giving me the power that I need to actually, make the impact that I
Yeah.
really want to make. And that's
Well,
hard.
I know, but so many of us want to change work to make it better for people. But I think that is impossible if you're not actively talking about changing the system in which we operate in. And I'm not talking about broader capitalism. Like, I can't change that. But you
Yeah.
can change the fact that there are certain things at work, certain systems in place that negatively actually serve your population. Like, Gen Z is the most diverse generation we've ever had. That's only going to continue moving forward. Gen Alpha, I don't know what comes after Alpha, Beta. I don't know. Have kids even been
I
born
have no
in Gen
idea.
B?
I've got Gen Alpha kids. I have no idea.
Yeah. Okay. So, like, you have to think about the fact that the systems in which we all exist and operate in, outside of the macro that we can't change, the micro that we can, those have to change for us to enact change. And that change takes time. I
Yes.
hate that cop out, because some people will say it's too much time and I don't have it, so I can't make the change. And my pushback on that is technology is evolving more rapidly than we ever anticipated before. Every day is a new fresh hell for all of us. So if that can all change so much, can't our systems? Can't we slowly or maybe quickly change these systems? And I think, like, the skill that I think HR leaders that will differentiate between good and bad and great HR leaders are the ones that can move quickly and make the changes that need to be made to keep up with how the tech is changing. And that, to me, also means, like, we can change the systems. We could, like, I hate it, but, like, maybe I'm like an eternal optimist. I mean, I know I hate it here. People are like, that's so negative. And I'm like, shut up. It's actually quite positive, because I want to change the things that we all hate. But I do think that, like, while we're quietly grieving the fact that we can't make all the changes we want to make, I still think that we can make change, but it takes all of us collectively wanting to do it. And there is this disconnect in HR, specifically between how the industry has always behaved to what the industry could look like in the future. And I don't think we're infighting, but I do think that there is a bit of a friction rub between people who have always done this job and people who want to do it differently moving forward.
Yeah, that's where the collective comes in, because it's like collectively as an HR community, I feel like we've got to get on the same page, or at least agree that we're going in the same direction. And also, we've got to bring in the people who we may not necessarily agree with, or, don't think they're the greatest at work, but it's going to take, like, if they're the workforce, it's going to also take them to make the change, right? Like, I think it's like the perfect scenario if you've got a great CEO, if you've got great managers, and you can, change the things. That is a dream, but the reality is that you're going to always have, like, what is it, 5 or 6 generations of the workforce now, and
5, yeah.
You've got all of these external factors happening too. And I think the social political environment, at least here in the States, it's also significantly impacting the way that people show up. And if you don't have people on the same page, or at least willing to have the same conversation, that work can be harder. That's why I think I agree. The change takes time, which me 10 years ago would have, like, been pissed off and like, that's a cop out. But I've realized, like, it's the relationships, it's the connecting and the collective that takes the most time. Because if you just try to, like, bulldoze somebody with some change, it's not going to happen. There's going to be a lot of resistance. They're going to dig their heels in. And I'm one of them, which is wild. It's like, I'm a change maker at work. And I also am like, wait a minute, we're going to talk about that.
Wait, I didn't say you all could do that. Like,
nobody told me that.
I love that. I love that. We are our own worst enemy sometimes in that sense, right? Because I do the same thing. I'm like, wait a minute, that's a little too much. That's a little too new for me. Like, can we slow down and talk about this a little bit? So
yeah.
That's so funny.
I definitely feel, like that person who's asking for Excel PDF help sometimes. I'm like, wait a minute, do that again. Because I didn't catch that.
Not my direct report, who is Gen Z, making jokes about how I'm so bad at using my new iPhone sometimes. I'm like, what's this new button? Like, why does it do this? And she's like, are you for real right now? Like, you love technology and you have been complaining about this iPhone button for, like, weeks. And I'm like,
we are the same person, because why did they do that with iOS 26? Let's talk.
The bubbles, they changed Safari. I'm like, I don't like to open a tab.
Yeah, the glass thing. I was like, I can't see.
Dad. Because I also thought the same thing. And I was like, is this it? Is this my descent
Yes.
into madness where I'm like, I don't get it?
No, seriously, but it sounds like mom art. Like, come on.
It's my print to PDF, right? Where there was like, nobody knows how to, boomers can't print to PDF. I'm like, okay, listen.
Right.
Sometimes it's hard to print things.
Sometimes it is. And they also changed Adobe and then the button changes.
I'm dead that this is us, right? Having like, get off my porch, kids. Like, you know, that's us, except
I'm the senora. I'm in the senora era. That's like, I'm the auntie. I feel like I'm in my auntie area. That's how I'm feeling.
That's so cute. I love that. I feel like I'm just in my crotchety era sometimes, but I'll come back from it on this episode probably.
Maybe.
Most HR tools give you dashboards full of data, but not a lot of direction. Quantum Workplace helps HR and people leaders connect the dots between engagement, performance, and development, so insights don't live in silos and decisions aren't made in the dark. The outcome? More confident leaders, stronger connections, and high-performing teams that support real business results, not just reports that sit untouched. If you're ready to move from collecting data to leading with it, check out Quantum Workplace at quantumworkplace.com. When we started talking about like decentering work, fulfillment, all these things that I think are bubbling up, we definitely talked about our passions. Like, I feel like we're two really passionate people about the things we believe in, our interests, and all the things that we care about. But there's this pressure sometimes with passion. Like, when do you think we turned passion into something that we're like expected to monetize, optimize, maybe even give away for free? Like, when people try to optimize or monetize their passion, I'm just like, why? Let it be your passion.
Yeah. I blame the pandemic. Seriously, I blame the pandemic and capitalism. So you think about it, like in the pandemic, people lost their jobs, people lost their livelihoods, and we had to completely shift the way that we earn income. And unfortunately, the system that we currently operate in was not prepared to help people continue to earn an income and to be able to sustain their livelihoods. So people are out here like they had time to go outside and work out. They monetized a workout guide. Like that was the way to be able to bridge the gap between what our economy should be providing us and, hey, stuff is hard out here. Like, I got to find a way.
And I think TikTok, that to me is rise?
Skyrocket.
During the pandemic, right?
Yes. I was a firm, like, I'm not going on TikTok in 2020.
I'm out here making content right now.
I'm making content too. Literally started my PhD and I was like, let me put out a video.
Yeah, I love it.
Yes.
It is. It feels weird sometimes, honestly. It feels like I don't know how else to describe it, but I do feel like the pandemic taught us, especially with the rise of TikTok, that we can monetize a lot of the things that we saw as our personal passions. And they can become our side hustles. People launched entire businesses off of dance videos on TikTok, right? Like some of the earliest influencers were dancing, and now suddenly they have multi-million-dollar makeup brands.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
it's when like the career advice changed. Like it changed in terms of like, this used to be life advice of like, find something you enjoy, go take a class or whatever. And now it's create something so that others can buy it and you can monetize it. The second that something turns icky to me, like if I start doing something that I really love and I'm like, oh, like maybe I could, do this as part of my consulting, or, I can monetize a video off of it. The moment it changes the vibe of that particular thing for me, I'm like, That's how I know it's not supposed to be monetized, at least for me, where I start feeling cringy about like, ugh, I've got to do this thing. Then I stop doing it.
Yeah, I also feel the same way. Although I have a note on cringe. This is my new theory. You all are hearing it first. I'll probably make a TikTok about this later. So many people are like, oh my God, I don't know how you are an influencer. Like it feels, aren't you worried about like being cringe? And I was thinking about this the other day. This is how I think about being cringe. I do not like the Big Bang Theory. I don't think it's funny. Every time I see a commercial for the show, it's now off the air. I've been like, ew, this is not my sense of humor and I don't like this. Sorry to everybody who loves The Big Bang Theory because it was on for many years and it got great reviews from people. It was my cringe, right? there are always people that are going to be out there like me who think the thing you're doing is cringe. That should not, under any circumstances, stop you from doing it. Because just like there are people who don't like the Big Bang Theory, there are people who love the Big Bang Theory. And you and your content could be the Big Bang Theory for somebody, or it could be not the Big Bang Theory for someone. That's my Big
Period.
Bang Theory.
That's
You heard it here
the hot
first.
take.
That's I mean,
That's the hot take.
It's really interesting because like I could care less if I look cringe. I'm the kind of person who like trips and then laughs at myself for tripping because I know I'm klutzy. So it's like while I don't think we should monetize all of our passions, I think we should get rid of the feeling of like feeling embarrassed for liking something or being the version we are. Like, I am not embarrassed about who I am. I put all my shit out there. There are things that people on the internet will never know about me because, one, that's none of their business. But like, two, there's a lot that you would know about me. And if you want to judge me for it, judge me for it. I don't care. But I think like this era of, that's cringe is, you should just let go of that. But when you start feeling cringe, but I do think that barometer that you said, when you start feeling cringe about yourself, caring less about what outside people think is cringe and more about what you feel is cringe, that's an indicator for you about something.
Yeah. It's like whatever helps you sleep at night. I
Yeah.
love that saying. I realize
Yeah.
that some people say it like as an insult and like a shady remark after something. But if
No.
I am sleeping well at night by putting
good.
out whatever content or whatever thing that I love, I'm okay. It's placing the value on what you think about yourself versus what others are going to say about you. There's a bazillion people, and I don't know the science, somebody else research it. There are like billions of people on this planet. Somebody's going to love what you do. Others aren't. And you've got to be okay with that.
Yeah. But I do feel like the more you sit in yourself and you're proud of the passions you have, the more you attract the people who also are, they like that.
Yeah.
Like what
That's uncomfortable though.
I know.
That's uncomfortable. Like, I'm going to be so for real. Like I had to do therapy and like several years of it to figure out like, and this is separating trauma and all this stuff. Like, who am I? What do I like? What do I value? What do I care about? Like, those things are deeply rooted, right? Like, this is not just that's so cringe. Let's dig a little deeper. You know what I mean? In terms of like, you have to understand that for yourself. You cannot shift certain things in your life without understanding yourself at the core. And that's really uncomfortable for people, especially if you're not used to trusting yourself or your intuition or believing that you're making the right decisions for yourself.
Yeah. It's so interesting because I was one of those kids who would like journal at like 12, like, who am I? What does it mean in the world? And then I can't say like I've always loved myself. I think loving myself is like it's an active act. It is every single day I'm going to look in the mirror and say something positive to myself. And I think I've told this story on the podcast before, but I went to this talk by this woman who wrote a book, Dr. Taryn, about the 5 habits of highly resilient people. And she said, like, if you do a lot of negative self-talk, that's like not good for your resilience. And I was like, I don't really do any negative self-talk anymore. I did a lot in my early 20s and my mid 20s. And I think when I got into my 30s and my later 30s, my negative self-talk really stopped. And I asked my 2 best friends that I've known for almost 15 plus years, like, hey, do you all do like negative self-talk? And they were like, oh yeah, all the time. And I said, is it weird that I don't? And both of them were like, we're not surprised. They both were like, we're not surprised that you don't do negative self. I was like, I'm out here.
I'm not surprised about it either.
But I'm deluluing my way to success. I don't know. I do think too, like back to grief, something dramatically changed my life when I lost my dad and then when I lost my brother, because I suddenly realized, I mean, I always thought life was short, but I really realized with those 2 losses, like, oh shit, life is so short. Like, I have to say the thing I'm thinking. I have to be the dork I want to be. I have to nerd out over Buffy the Vampire Slayer and the comics I love and the science fiction I'm reading, because I might not get another day to do it. And I don't know if that really is when the negative self-talk switch also happened, but I'm just I'm like, oh, I could be president. I could be that.
Period.
I could be this. Like, it's a fun, I think someone talked about like delusions are also like a sign of potentially mental health issues, but I'm like, you know what? I got a therapist. We talk about it. Okay. Let me have my delulu. Let me have let me believe that the belief that anything is possible is so beautiful. And I think it makes life so fun. It makes life so fun.
Yes.
I'm trying to have fun.
Oh yeah. A warning to anyone who's ever experienced loss, but I think the miscarriage in 2020 really, really shifted things. Like it rocked my core to the point where I just like, again, I had no semblance of like who I was because I held all value in, I have been childbearing before. Why did this instance change? Like, what's the matter with me? Like, who am I? Like all of the things, it really shook everything about how I felt and my identity and all of the things. And I also think like grieving, like Vanessa Guillen at Fort Hood, Texas, Breonna Taylor, right? Like George Floyd, like all of like those unfortunate tragedies also made me look at my husband and my son. My daughter wasn't here at the time, but it looks at my husband and my son. And even, my brother is also walking around this world as a brown man, black man. And the thought of like anything could happen to them when they walk out the door completely changes the perspective of like, I have to enjoy the time that I have with my people and while I'm still here. Or like, when I am gone, I don't want to be remembered by whatever title. I want to be remembered by, she made me cry every time I talked to her. Like we could kiki in our pajamas on the couch. Like, you know what I mean? Like those are like, no, for real. Like that is what I want people to remember me by. And that is how you shift from, I'm going to put everything into work and in the workplace to, I want my people. I want my village. I want I want to care about myself. I want to leave a very different impression. I want to leave an impression on the heart, not on the bottom line.
Yeah. I want to pour into myself. First off, before I say anything else, I just want to say, I'm so sorry for you going through that miscarriage and experiencing that. And I know so many women and close personal friends who have experienced that and said it's like very isolating, very lonely. And they have tried to talk about it more. So I feel honored that you even wanted to share that with the people listening. And if I could hug you through the screen, I'm doing it right now. But like you touched on something that like a lot of women in the workplace face. And that's why I come back to like our bereavement policies have to cover things like miscarriage. We have to give the support to people who need it at work. And so many women are having that experience alone and in silence. So the fact that you talked about it and named it, I feel eternally grateful that you were willing to share that with me today.
No, I really appreciate it. And I was also very lucky that I had a rock star team and, like there was no like trying to rush me back to work or, like, hey, like I had I full like woman team. Everyone just was so supportive, but that's because, my boss had the power to do that. Right. Like she had the autonomy to make that decision. And I think we should give people the autonomy to make those decisions as long as people are aware and you have the conversation, like who cares how many sick hours they're taking or whatever it is. Like, who are we to say grief should take you 5 business days and come back? Like, no,
does not take 5 business days.
It does not. It does not. Yeah. It's been almost 6 years and I still have moments where I'm like, oh my God, right? Like I feel the grief like right here in my throat, right? Like it comes back and it's unpredictable and we all process it in very different ways. And when you think you're good, you're like something happens, you're like, oh, you know what I mean? And I agree. I think that's why I talked about it. I think that's why I had like 3 seasons of Sazón y Corazón because I'm like, how are we dealing with our mental health at work? Like, can somebody please tell me because I'm in shambles and I'm trying to pretend like I got it together and I don't, and my therapist is on certified payroll. Like, what's happening? No.
It's really tough. Like I feel like collectively as a whole society is really struggling. Like, and not everybody has resources like a therapist. And I also like people are using ChatGPT for therapy. And I'm just like, that's not a licensed therapist who should talk to you about anything. But if you don't have any other options, like what are you going to do? Right. If you desperately need someone, it just feels like collectively like not a good time for a lot of people. And I do think the more we as HR leaders and people on this earth talk about our mental health struggles, the more it helps other people also talk about their mental health struggles.
Yes.
Like 100%. I'm not out here saying everything is perfect every day. Like life is hard. It's just, I be crying on a daily basis. I already cried once today,
Yes.
this podcast. No, but like I say it, I'm being funny, but like it really
Yeah.
is, it's interesting because like we suppress so much about who we are at work, but I don't believe we need to do that. But there are environments that will punish you for being yourself at work. And that makes me sad. And I want to change those environments. And I think we have this like constant pressure to perform. And it's like we're trying to monetize these passions. Then we're thinking about like, how do we actually perform after years of emotional suppression? Like, remember when we entered the workplace, it really felt like the vulnerability was not there.
Oh,
It
not
was,
at all.
I don't care what you're going through, perform. Like,
I was a
why?
robot.
Yeah, it was same. People knew nothing about me at work. Like,
Yeah.
how do we help people reconnect with what they care about or who they are after years of this like emotional suppression and constant need to perform at work? Like, how do we even begin to start thinking about that? And have you?
I think for me, especially after I left the White House, and I was like, first of all, I just had to sit down on my couch. Like I just had to suppress so much. I just had to like sit my ass down and be like, what just happened? Right. I just had to process. I give myself time to process. But I also really, really leaned heavily on community. And I'm not talking about like, oh my God, you got to be out here volunteering your time all the time. No, I'm talking like 15, 20-minute chats like, hey girl, how you doing? How you really doing? And just having conversations, right? Like not everyone is going to function as your therapist, but it is cathartic to just get the things out and just say the things out loud. And even if you don't have that person, like write that shit down. I have stuff in my notes app. I've got notebooks. I've got journals. I've got all the things where like, if something is coming up for me, I have to get it out so that way my body can start processing it. Because the more you hold things in, that's where like you start feeling it in your body, where like your heart is racing, your palms are sweating, you can't sleep at night, you toss and turn in. Like those physical things, at least for me, they come up real quick where my body is like, yo, we need to do something about this. So I think there, I said a lot of things. Process with community, process with yourself if you don't feel comfortable with others. And then you're just gonna have to start small with things that you like want to practice, right? Like if you want to frolic in a field somewhere, frolic for a minute, just run around, arms free, get, fresh air on your face. Like it sounds so silly, but the reset that does for your body and your mind is insanity, right? Because you're breathing fresh air, you're getting vitamin D, right? You're getting out of the monotony of probably being in front of a screen or, on the run. Like do the things that feel safe, but will push you just a little bit to like explore things that used to feel unsafe for you, right? And you build up from there.
Yeah. I think the interesting thing about that though is like there are boundaries to what we can and cannot do, even at work and in our lives. And I would be foolish to not even bring up the idea of boundaries because I think that is something that really impacts, how we can show up. Like I do, I have the ability in the middle of the day to go take a mental health walk if I want to. Some people like don't have that ability. I have the ability to tell my CEO like I will not be answering things on the weekend. Some people don't have that ability. Like, why do boundaries still feel really risky at work, even when organizations say they value our well being? Why do you think it still feels so risky?
You know, I think I literally could do an entire conversation on just boundaries.
Okay, you'll come
I
back. You'll
think
come back.
for real, part 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Yeah,
I
25.
think workplaces are still figuring out what their place actually is, right? Like I think there is a shift the same way HR is shifting into a different direction. I think employers are trying to figure out what their role is when collectively, literally as a society, there is a lot of pressure. There's burnout. There is, an economic downfall, right? Like war. I think employers are trying to figure out how much are we responding from a business perspective and how do we actually want to respond, if at all, from the employee well-being perspective. And I think there is still a disconnect between saying we value this and actually putting into practice in a way that still benefits the bottom line. Because at the end of the day, like regardless, people are going to have to make sure they're in the green and that we are profitable, etc. So I think there is still a disconnect where workplaces are still trying to figure out what does that actually mean. And I think that has a lot to do with placing how much value on work and like what does hustle actually mean, and do I need to have eyes on somebody? And let's be quite honest, that is, I think that's rooted deeply from slavery and having to watch people on the fields, right? Like you don't need to watch somebody in order to know that the work is done, right? Like I busted that myth for you right there. I think it also has to do with like trust. I think people are afraid that if they say, yeah, like work whenever you want, they have a deep fear that people are just out here not doing work at all and they're not getting the return on investment, which I also think is flawed. And, you know, there's so many things that could be fixed. But I think that's the disconnect, right? Because then it feels like if I put this boundary and my supervisor says yes, but maybe somebody else tries to put the boundary down and their supervisor says no, but there's no standard across the organization on like what we, you know, think is okay for our boundaries to be as an organization. Then you got people out here just doing all types of wild things, and you don't really know which boundary is okay to enforce.
Yeah. I mean, it's so interesting because like there are people who hate the phrase work-life balance. Like, especially in startups, they're like, I hate, that's a red flag when a candidate says work-life balance. And I'm like, I mean, but they're giving you a boundary straight up. I think the red flag is your reaction to that stated boundary. And like, nowhere does it say, because I like work life balance, that I'm going to slack off at work. But somehow we have associated people who say they want work life balance with people who are not working hard. And I wish we could debunk that. I'm like, no, they want to work hard at work and then they want to go live their life, because we spend the majority of our time at work, but we are on this planet for a set amount of life. So, like, God forbid a person have passions outside of work. Like, what?
Yeah.
Wild.
And
But
I
I'm
would
like,
argue that people who have passions outside of work and are expanding their mind and, you know, participating in play are more
uh-huh.
creative, are innovative, are actually motivated to show up at work, all of the things. There's science behind it, there's data, there's all of the things, but there's still like this misplaced, you know, distrust in, no, if somebody's doing something elsewhere, that must mean they're not paying attention over here. No.
Yeah. It
Yeah.
really just is mind boggling to me how we have all the science that proves the things we're proving. And then people just go about still having the perception they have.
Yeah.
Like, let people
Uh,
play and have fun. They will do better
exactly.
work.
They will.
But like, you got to deconstruct so much of like people's identities, people's notions, people's misunderstandings from that to actually get the thing you want, which I think then makes our job really fun as HR, because we could potentially create those environments if we have the right buy-in and the right power to make them happen.
Yes.
Like,
Absolutely. And I
let's
think
play at
so.
work. I mean, definitely. Like,
Yes.
our work week tagline is like, make work fun. Like, we want to have fun at work. And I do think we have a decent amount of it. And so I'm like, if you create the fun or allow for the environment to be fun, then I think people will do, like you said, more creative and better work. But I want to go back to like what we talked about at the very beginning around fulfillment. Like, do you think it's okay if work is meaningful, but no longer central to our identity? And why do you think that
Yeah.
feels uncomfortable for so many people?
Oh man, it feels uncomfortable for me right now. Like this is literally what I'm practicing like now. And it's because of like, you know, not pulling all my eggs in one basket in terms of like, I cannot change the world just focusing on work. And I am actively practicing trying to decentralize my workplace and my title. And I'm pretty sure like that hashtag has been around. It's like when I saw that, I was like, yes, that's what I'm doing. But I think it's scary because then we got to figure out what else brings us value. Like what else gives us worth. I think that is what's really scary. Because if I don't make my entire life about work, then what is my life about?
For sure.
And
I
that is a
love
really big question and very scary.
Well, I love that Gen Z, I feel like, is setting the tone on decentering work. And I keep
Yes.
joking because I'm like, I'm decentering men and work this year. Like those are my those are my
Period.
two decenters. Sorry for any men
Period.
listening. Yeah, I'm
I know.
I'm
Shout out
looking
to
at
my
this.
husband, but
So
still.
yeah, I'm decentering. Like it's interesting because I don't think the most interesting thing about me, Ayanna, is what I do for work. I really
No.
don't. I think there are so many parts of me that desperately want the attention that I just think they deserve because they are so much more than the emails I send and the work that I do. I think it's about who we are in the world and the things that we value and who we want to be and the examples we want to set for those around us and how we want to show up and support others. Like, I think there's something so beautiful about saying, like, work is a thing I do, but there are so many other parts of my identity that I would talk about first before I talked about work.
Yes. Absolutely.
I want more of
Same.
that. Like when I meet people and the second question they ask me is, "Oh, so what do you do for work?" In my head, I'm literally like, "Oh, that person might not be for me." If
Yeah.
that's the way you want to connect with others is work. I don't want to fault you for that. If that's your means of connection, I think that's an easy question to get the ball rolling, to dig deeper with people. But sometimes when it's all somebody wants to talk to me about, I kind of want to shake them and be like, there's a human doing this work too. There's someone who
Period.
has feelings and is passionate and is experiencing the world and is so much more than the deliverable and the value I'm adding to this environment. So I want more people to sit in that discomfort, like you said, and ask ourselves, like, what are the beautiful parts of who I am that I want to celebrate before the work I do at work? And also, if you seek value from what you do at work, like you are in a nonprofit or a doctor or a therapist, like I think those are a lot of people approach those jobs and get a lot of value from their jobs. I'm not saying you can't find value in your HR job, but I just want you to think about who are you outside of, how you contribute to the bottom line.
Yeah, absolutely. And even in those, environments where folks are contributing to, a nonprofit or social justice or, healing other people, that still comes with a very high emotional load.
Yeah.
And you still need to balance that out. You do need something else that brings you joy. It's not something that you have to monetize or has to be again, a significant contribution. It could just literally be something to decompress your system, yourself, and just to release from the heavy lifting that you're doing at work, right? It's about you, what brings you happiness, fulfillment. Forget everybody else, right? It's how do I take care of myself? And if that means I'm a couch potato and I just want to lay and stare at the ceiling, do that.
Love. That was my Sunday. Thank you. What I did on Sunday. No, it is true. I think this whole season's about new. And I do feel like this conversation of decentering work, finding fulfillment, believing in your passions, while it doesn't sound radically new, I do think it is a bit different from the lies we've been constantly told about work.
Sham.
Sham. I do feel like to a certain extent I've been sold a lie. And I do think with the older I get, the more I settle more deeply into my bones in the sense of what actually makes me happy. I'm sure there's some 20-year-olds running out there enlightened, but I was not at 20.
Not at
I
all.
met a founder recently who's like, I started my company at 21. I was like, at 21, I don't know what the hell I was doing. I couldn't string together a sentence.
I signed my life away and didn't even know it at 21. I was already 2.5 years into the army. Just, service and mission and country first because, this country gave so much to my parents. And, it was all a lie.
I feel like a lot of that value is still embedded into your daily practice while you're doing something else today. I still feel like you bring that to your daily life instead.
I think so too. But it's more so rooted in community and the things that make me feel good and giving back to the people that I come from versus centering this government and work. Yeah.
Exactly what this whole episode is about. Okay, for people who, if you were to leave them with one piece of advice, we've covered fulfillment, boundaries, passions, existing in this very complicated world. If you could give them one piece of advice on how to walk away from this episode and really think about what it means to feel fulfillment, to be passionate about something, what advice would you give them?
I would say stop glorifying burnout as dedication and start designing work that actually fits into your human life and not the other way around.
A mic drop moment like that
Yeah.
was a mic drop moment. That was, I'm tired of people glorifying burnout and the hustle. So I'm with you. And I think that is an excellent piece of advice to leave people with this episode or end this episode with. And, this is becoming a recurring bit I now do for people who want to get in touch with you. What's the best way they can get in touch with you?
I would say LinkedIn. Ayanna Kelly on LinkedIn is probably the best way. I'm super responsive. But yeah, that's probably the best way.
Will your podcast come back maybe in the future?
I wanted to.
Okay.
I'm thinking about what the next season, like what the next era is for the podcast.
Okay. And then last thing, because I'm grilling you at the end now, what are you getting your PhD in?
Organizational leadership. It brings all of the things that I'm super passionate about into one program. And I really love that there's a research component to it because I can develop my own dissertation on the impacts of work and the future of what leadership and the workplace looks like.
My God, I'm so honored to get to know you, to be in your orbit, to, I don't even know, be inspired by you. Thank you for spending time with me today. And also thank you for making me cry on that first call. It's back to the very first time I met you. I don't know. I'm so excited to see like what comes out of your dissertation and then the work you're doing to get your PhD. I think like leadership needs to look so different in the future. And to know that I have a friend who's doing a part in changing that feels so, so good. So thank you.
Thank you. I'm so honored. I'm so glad we finally had this conversation. Like years in the making, but we finally made it. Oh yeah.
Oh, we need part 1 through 25 on boundaries.
But for real.
Thank you again. Thanks for tuning in. Keep up with all the latest HR resources by subscribing on Apple, Spotify, Google, or wherever you listen. And if you love I Hate It Here, tell an HR friend. I'll see you next time.